Hi, this is Jeff Combs, Aerosport Products. Going to be going over our rudder trim installation today. And first of all, what we'll do is we'll go through the parts that come in the rudder trim kit. First of all, you're going to get two hose clamps, okay? And the hose clamps go around your rudder arms. These are what we call the rudder arms. And then you have to open them up, and then they'll go around what we call the rudder rods, the rudder pedal rods here. You get two tension springs, okay, and you'll get two of your arms. We have one already attached. This is a new version. This is the older version. This is for the RV10. This is for the 7, 9, 10, and 6. For the 7, 9, and 6, you'll just need that first hole here. For the 10, we recommend the top hole, okay, because it needs more. You get more leverage the longer the arm to make the rudder trims work with the bigger rudders. Okay, so those are your parts. Then you have your control box, which is the main control box here, and the control box, you have the knob. This has an extended knob, and the shaft. The shaft is if you want to mount the control box behind your instrument panel, so you just have it sticking out. If you're mounting it right on the bottom of the dash like we recommend, you cut this back, use a Dremel drill, and when you do, you want to make a Dremel with a cutoff wheel. You want to make sure you don't heat it up too much so you don't burn the bushing. There's a plastic bushing here and there, but you can cut that to any length you want then. One thing you want to do is never operate the rudder trim box without having some type of pressure, some pressure on the cables. The cables, if you do, you can end up with a bird's nest, kind of like it would be like a fishing reel. The way it takes up the take up reel in there, you can get a bird's nest if you don't keep a little pressure on there. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is go over the basic installation. First of all, you'll have your control box here. And this is upside down right now. Normally this would be mounted, this would be the bottom of your instrument panel, and we recommend mounting this down underneath between your legs, especially on the Aerosport Products instrument panels. You can mount it right between your knees. It's out of the way, you won't bother you, and it works real well right there. So that's pretty simple. You've got two lugs to mount to. You can also mount this lug to an angle bracket if you want, or mount this, however you might, behind the dash if you have this sticking out. Okay, the next thing we're going to do look at is the arms. The arms go on, the rudder arms go on to the rudder crossbars here, and what you'll want to do is when you get your rudder arms, they have a double-sided tape on it. You'll need to pull off the covering for the first layer of double-sided tape, so that's a sticky portion there. That helps keep the rudder arms from slipping once you get them clamped onto these powder-coated rudder rods, your foot pedal rods. If they still slip after you tighten the hose clamp, you can actually use a little drop of JB Weld, 5-minute JB Weld or 5-minute epoxy when you put them on. When you put them on, you just stick them on like so, and they seem to, then you put the hose clamps on. The other thing you want to do, the hose clamp needs to go on with your the screw head or the bolt head, whatever, then down below like we have on this one here, and we need to have it underneath so you can get to it. It's much easier to tighten and everything. Also, when you do this, if you can take out your EFIS screens if your airplane's already done and you're installing this, if you can take out one of your EFIS screens, maybe it's easy to reach your hand back and get to the rudder arms and everything. It makes a big difference. We've had a number of people install these things in 45-50 minutes, so it just depends on your setup. The one thing you want to make sure is that your rudder arms are not in the way. Don't rub on your brake lines or in any type of wiring, harnesses, and stuff like that. And you might have to move them around a little bit for that. The other thing, if you do move them around, what's going to happen is your control box here, these wires can go at almost a 30-degree angle, up, down, right, left. We have bushings in them, and the bushings, it allows the cables to roll freely. So these cables don't have to be a straight shot to your rudder arms. Chances are, in the RV10, you're going to be about like this. The rudders, this will be of course upside down, but your cables are going to be going up towards your rudder arms just like it is now. Okay? So there again, the first thing you want to do is figure out where you're going to put the rudder control box. Get it aligned with your rudder arms. Put your hose clamps on. You'll have to undo the hose clamps and put them around and then slide them on. Make sure also when you roll your control wheel to the counterclockwise or clockwise that it goes right rudder. When you go counterclockwise, it pulls the left rudder. It'll pull your left rudder. That's the way it will work. Okay. Once you've got that all figured out, the next step you want to do, of course, is you got your rod arms on. You got this aligned where you think you need to be. Then you're going to need to measure. You need to go and take one of your springs. You need to take a pair of needle nose probably and open up this loop here a little bit so you can get it onto the rudder arm. And if you just open it up a little bit, you should be able to snap them on and they'll fit fine, okay? And you'll do that with both of them. And if you want, you can close them up a little bit if you want, but they won't really come off of there. They'll be on pretty good. Then the other thing you need to do, when this is all installed, you want to have 1 3/4 inches of tension on your spring. So you want your spring to be pulled 1 3/4 inches forward once you set your cable length from your control box. So what you'll need to do is measure, and we're going to take this, we're going to measure from the control box to a spring, and we're right at 7 1/4 inches basically. As you can see, 7 1/4 inches. So what we want to do, we want this to be 1 3/4 inches tension, so we're going to subtract 1 3/4 inches from our 7 1/4 inches. So that would be, so we're going to be basically 1 inch would be 6 1/2, and 3/4 would be 5 1/2. Okay, so we're going to make these 5 1/2 inches is what we want to do. So you have, so here we go to 5 1/2 inches. That's how much pull tension we want to have. So there again, we're at 7 1/4, and we want to be at 1 3/4. So that would be 5 1/2 inches. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take one of our cables, and the one thing I forgot to show you was we have a little crimp thing. These are fishing leader crimps, and what you'll do, you'll get 3 of these. You only need 2. You can put those over your cable. Then what you'll do is slide those down, measure 5 1/2 inches, kind of to see where you're going to be. Once you get close, then you can put the loop in, pull your loop, make your loop about 3/8 of an inch to a 1/2 inch loop is what you want. Okay, and then you're going to measure. Now this is way too long, you can see, so we're going to shorten this up. What we're going to do is push the loop and pull back. We're still a little long there if you look, so we're going to push a little bit more. There you go. Now we're a little short, so we need to go a little bit more the other way. There we go, that should be about right. There we go, about 5 1/2 inches. You want to do this on both springs, on both right and left springs, once they're set up. And then once you have it set up where you need it, what I recommend is to take the crimp, and you can cut off about 1 inch at the back here, and then stick that cable back into the leader here, the little crimp rod, So when you crimp it, it'll have 3 cables you're crimping on. You can actually use a crimp tool that we have that you can buy for these, which you don't need to do that really. But you can use old wire crimper. You can start to crimp with the 2218, and then you can go down to here, which would be your 2218, the non-insulated ones, and you can crimp it about at 1/3 and in 2 spots. Okay, and if you have it back up in there, it shouldn't slip at all. So once you get that done, you'll crimp that, you'll put them on, and then you'll hook it up, and your wires and everything should be set to where they need to be for the tension. The other nice thing about the rudder trim is that it also keeps tension on your rudder when it's windy, and your rudder won't flap around in the breeze like they do now. And a lot of people have broken off rudder stops and stuff because of that. It actually really keeps that rudder nice and centered and stuff, and it works really well. Everybody that has them really likes them. That's another advantage of the rudder trim also. There again, you have your, we'll recap, you've got your hose clamps facing down, your screw head towards the back, towards the pilot. Then you put them on your rudder bars, get them aligned, keep them clear of all your brake lines, wiring harnesses, things like that. Mount your control box underneath the panel or back behind the panel, wherever you determine you'd like to have it. Crimp your cables with 1 3/4 inches of tension on the springs. And for the RV10, well, you will need to make sure you remove the double-sided cover for the one side of the tape. RV7s and 9s and stuff, you'll cut them off right here. Use this lower hole. For RV10s, you use the top hole. And there again, I think you'll really enjoy the Aerosport products rudder trim. Thanks for purchasing. Have a great day.